Yo, what's going on? It's Rockma. We're doing first bit of content for 2024 and reacts. A little bit of background information on me. I live in Alaska. We've had some pretty crazy earthquakes. In fact, I lost quite a bit of my stuff in an earthquake 2018 back in the day, and uh, actually did some damage to my trailer. First trailer I ever bought. My home where my kid was brought back to after the hospital, my firstborn, and it threw me out of the bed. Sounded like a train. It's absolutely crazy. We had to relevel the house, bunch of stuff. I spent like 36 hours at work the day after it happened, just trying to clean stuff up. Uh, we had overtime, but man, there was just so much work to be done. So I just saw that Japan had their first earthquake in a while. So I was like, all right, let's see what's going on here.
We continue to follow breaking news for you this morning. Just frightening scenes coming out of Japan on this New Year's Day. Japan's west coast reeling after a powerful 7.5 magnitude quake caused widespread damage, triggered tsunami warnings, and 4-foot tsunami waves. This is the moment that the quake struck just a few hours ago.
How big was
you
it,
see that
though?
building crumbling to the ground on the screen's upper left side there. And take a look at the scene from inside of an office building.
Yep. So when this was happening at the earthquake that I had, um, it was like, so I was laying in bed, right? I was asleep, and when I got shook around with that, it was like I got like levitated. Is the best way to describe it. I felt like I was in the air, shaking back and forth, like somebody had picked me up and was like rocking me almost. It was weird, but like in the air, like not touching the bed. That's how that's how fast it was. Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's the first time I'm seeing this video. You can see just how long it goes on and just how violent that shaking is. Houses have collapsed. We have seen pictures of roofs there just fallen down. The earthquake also caused fires in some areas, and at this moment, tsunami warnings do remain in effect. They have been downgraded. You can see the initial impact of one of these tsunamis.
We actually had a tsunami warning whenever our earthquake hit, but it's the Anchorage like seabed is very weird because it starts out like this. So like this is the ocean, right? And like your house is over here, and then the ocean's like this, right? And normally, what will happen is all the water from like the deep side will come in, and it'll sit right here, and it will create the wave, and the wave will push into the town. But with the Anchorage seabed, the deep part of the water's out here, right? And so the wave starts right here, but it's so shallow that the wave will eventually crash before it even hits the land over here. And so we had tsunamis, but they were like 3 inches, like they were nothing. They were very, very small tsunamis. And it didn't even affect the harbor of uh of Anchorage or anything. It was just nothing.
There, it doesn't look like much, but this can be a threat, particularly if you get repeated waves. The warnings now are of waves of up to 10 feet. We have full team coverage for you. CNN's Hanako Montgomery is in Tokyo. Derek Van Dam at the Weather Center. Hanako, first to you. What are you hearing at this point from the Japanese government?
Yeah, John. So right now it's currently nighttime in Japan. So we're still waiting to confirm a lot of outstanding questions about the extent of the devastation from the earthquake and subsequent tsunami. But what we do know is that 33,000 homes in Ishikawa Prefecture, which is very close to the epicenter, have lost power. We also
Yeah,
know
so
that
our
bullet
power
train
was
lines
out
have
for
been.
like 3.5 days when this happens. I remember, I remember the power went out, and there's like one bridge that comes into my town, right? So like, I live on the side of a mountain, essentially, between like two mountains, and there's one bridge that comes over the river, and there's another bridge that's like the main artery that has the highway on it, and that bridge was fine, like it was in one piece, but the um the cliff that supports the bridge had given out part of it, and so it was just falling away like day after day after day after day. So they had to go in and put supports in on it, which shut down the one highway we have for like 2 weeks. So everybody else had to go through this side bridge, uh, through this like really small 2,000, 3,000 person town, and uh, we constantly just had like, I mean, traffic like not year round, but like 24/7. It was just absolutely insane. And the worst part was, in order to get the supports up, we had to get the electricity back up. But many places didn't get electricity back up for a couple days because there was only one road to get to the thing to repair it to get the electricity back up. And this was in the middle of this was I think it was November when this happened. So it was getting cold. Alaska in November is no joke.
Suspended. Some roads have had cracks in them, making it very difficult for emergency medical personnel to get to survivors. We also know that fires have broken out across Ishikawa Prefecture, and 1,000 self-defense force personnel have been dispatched to aid in evacuation efforts. This is along with 1,700 firefighters also to help in evacuation efforts. Now, 20 self-defense force aircrafts are also monitoring the area to just try to get a sense of the extent of this devastation. Now, also, I just want to point out that this did happen on New Year's Day, a time when many people are celebrating New Year's with their families in their homes, with their loved ones. And when this quake hit at 4:10 p.m., that initial quake hit at 4:10 p.m., it shocked the entire country. People were forced to leave their homes, leave their belongings, and evacuate to higher ground. Of course, the aftershocks that followed soon afterwards were also very powerful.
Dude,
And
the
it's reminding a lot of
aftershocks
people.
were insane. So like every single person was terrified because there's okay, so there was this first earthquake that hit, right? And uh it was not that bad. It was like a little shake and you're like, "Oh god, that was a pretty rough one." And then the second one hit and you were like, "Oh crap. This is really bad." And the second one was really 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 loud. Like like it kind of reminds you of the when you hear like a plane that's too close to your house. That was the that was the sound. It was just like that low rumbling, oh my god, kind of a feeling, like unnatural, right? And then there was the um, there was the final big one. And after that, everybody everybody was terrified from then on out.
People of the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami because of just how long the quakes are, how the tsunami warnings have also been issued, John, and just really a lot of fear and just lots to confirm about the extent of devastation.
Yeah, really early days into sort of assessing the damage. Hanako, thank you. Let me bring Derek into the conversation. Derek, as we just said, we know the tsunami warnings have been downgraded, but help us understand practically what that means. I mean, what is the risk right now?
Well, Rahel, John, what you're seeing is some really stunning new video coming out of the Ishikawa Prefecture. This is new to us, and you're looking at Suzu City, Japan. So this is on the opposite side of the peninsula, and just zooming in, what you're looking at is the break wall,
dude.
some of the seawall here. We're analyzing this video on the fly,
Oh my
so
God.
it's a bit tricky to establish exactly what's going on, but we believe that this is the moment the tsunami, the initial tsunami wave, impacted this part of the Ishikawa Prefecture, and you can see the water kind of pummeling
Holy
over that
shit.
seawall, which we would have to guess here is several meters high if it's protecting a harbor. But you can see the waves
Dude,
splashing.
you know how
up
much
into
damage that water's gonna do? That's insane. Not only have earthquake damage, because what earthquakes do is they're gonna shake the ground and everything sinks down just a couple of inches. That was what did so much damage to my house, was that it literally took the supports and it made it shrink into the ground. Everything had to get re-leveled. There's tons of structure damage, and that comes from like the liquidization of the earth underneath your feet. To have water damage on top of that, man, God.
to the populated areas. I'm going to reset my graphics here and just give a little bit more of an indication of where exactly this is. We've zoomed into Suzu City, and there is that breakwater wall. This is the population area. And again, this is on the opposite side of where the magnitude 7.5 earthquake actually occurred. So we're getting some profound video of the tsunami wave that has actually moved in. And you can see other areas there fitting that narrative of waves over 4 feet in some instances, with tsunami warnings still ongoing across those western facing shorelines of
So
the
where
country
did
of
the
Japan.
earthquake actually happen? 'Cause it looks like it probably happened somewhere in here if they're gonna get tsunami warnings over here, right? Oh, that's why Russia also put out tsunami warnings over in this area. Oh, they didn't know which way the wave was gonna come.
Particularly across the Honshu region.
All right, Derek Van Dam, thanks to you. Hanako Montgomery, who is in Tokyo, our thanks to both of you.
Well, let's continue the conversation now. Joining us now is Robert Geller. He is a seismologist and emeritus professor at the University of Tokyo. Robert, good to have you today. Can I just ask, I mean, you are in Tokyo. Did you feel the earthquake? Can you share with us what your experience
Fucking scary,
was?
dude.
Well, I felt the earthquake, but only very, very low level shaking. I had the TV on, and the warnings of an imminent earthquake striking Ishikawa Prefecture were repeated on a loop over and over again.
How did you
with a
not
kind of
feel
horror,
that, dude? Look at that.
warning people. So that was very dramatic. But actually, you could hardly feel anything in Tokyo.
Oh, that's really interesting. In the video that we're showing, I'm not sure if you can see the screen right now, but the video is also quite dramatic.
I guess
Monitors
does
off
that is true. Cause like, so when it happened for us, right? We were like 10 miles away from when it actually hit, and man, you could feel everything. But then there were people in Anchorage that were like, yeah, there was a little bit of shaking, but it wasn't too bad. Like 30 miles away. So I guess it does make sense that Tokyo didn't have it as bad as was it Oshikawa?
buildings really shaking.
Oyama?
From your perspective, I mean, what is the biggest risk right now? What are you watching right now?
Well, there are two risks. One is the buildings that have collapsed or partially collapsed. If there are people trapped in
Oh shit. So I
they-
just remembered this. So there was like a they were talking about when it hit, there was so much seismic activity that we have like 4 volcanoes around us, and we have one directly to the southeast of us across like a bay. And that thing started spewing smoke and ash for like 2 days after this happened. So apparently, like they can trigger each other, like an earthquake can trigger a volcano, and that shit was nuts. Apparently, there's like a ring of fire around the Pacific Rim And the crazy part is, if you get a big enough earthquake, like let's say in California on the big ass fault, you can actually trigger all of the other um, uh, uh, volcanoes to start spewing, because one will trigger, and it will be a seismic event that will trigger another one, because almost all of the volcanoes, at least in this ring of fire, are sitting on fault lines.
Emergency forces have about 48 hours to get the people out, or mostly it's too late. So that's a race against time, and I'm sure the firemen and self-defense forces will do the best they can. The second risk is there's a very small probability, maybe only 1 or 2%, that you could have an
Yep.
even bigger
Yep.
earthquake in the next week or two. They're sure to be aftershocks, but almost all the time they're smaller than the main shock. So the aftershocks will only be a problem for buildings that have already been damaged, and any little further blow can demolish them. But if you have a bigger earthquake, that could really be a problem. It's not very likely, but it's not
Yeah, I
impossible.
mean, if you get a bigger earthquake, what was it? 7.5. If you get a bigger earthquake after the 7.5, dude, you were in bad shape.
We're talking about here, so people do need to be on alert. We have seen some images of some of the smaller waves, the initial tsunamis that did occur from this. There are still warnings in effect for waves of up to 10 feet high. How long do you think people need to be on alert for the
I think
water
that's
there?
your main, like, threat.
Well, from the main shock, probably not that much longer. I think perhaps the government is being a little overly cautious.
Bro, it's a
Bearing in mind
earthquake that caused a tsunami. I think overcaution is probably a good call.
that happened in 2011. But it's one of these better safe than sorry things. If people stay away from their homes for 24 hours, that's probably not such a bad thing.
Where did they
just
get
in
this
case.
guy?
Extra precaution certainly in order, given what
Right.
happened in 2011 and the severity of this quake. It was a very powerful earthquake, still assessing the damage from it. Professor Robert Geller, we do appreciate you being with us. Thank you so much.
That is
Happy New Year to you.
insane, dude. I mean, that is insane. That, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, maybe I'm biased, because what happened to me, but in my house, my family, my job. But earthquakes, man, they're you really do need to be abundantly cautious on these things.